Are you as optimistic as what we just heard there at the end with the comments from the youth summit?
I have been very impressed in what I have seen. I will tell you that my focus is a legislative change. And in order to have real change, we have to have our young people participating in Jefferson City. It's good to talk about it, to get out the feelings, to have a vision for the future. I think articulating that is really important for the entire community. But we are in session for 5 months out of the year. And so continuing the conversation on the street or in a room and not in Jefferson City with 197 legislators is going to not benefit the movement. And so it's time to redirect the focus to the points that are important for change. And there, again, as I said earlier, we have a supermajority of Republicans who are interested in listening to young people and the changes that they want.
And I think that the issues at stake are much bigger than party affiliation. I mean, having grown up in North County, I feel a connection, and I know a lot of people do. They want to do something. They want to improve the conditions. They don't want those lasting images to be the ones that the world remembers, but rather about how we move forward and some changes that we can make. As I spent time with my friend in Ferguson and talking with people and just trying to listen. And I think that as a native St. Louisan, there's a lot more of that going on now than has before. And we're having conversations that maybe we didn't have before. And that's a unique opportunity for us. So whether it's the solutions that are taking place, people talking about those in the community, or us in Jefferson City trying to correct some structural problems that have maybe led to some of the distrust, as we talked about the municipal court issue, as people interact with their government, and as people interact, and as a lawyer, somebody that cares very deeply about how people are treated in our court system, I think there's some real reforms that we can take on that'll make a difference.
Well, as soon as Michael Brown's death caused a wave of protest, I kind of figured there would be some public policy reaction to it, but I don't think the legislature, the city council, or the county council is going to be the final solution or the final people that bring some sort of consensus within the St. Louis area. I think it's just going to be people within the St. Louis region coming to grips with some of the systemic, deep-seated problems and hopefully talking with their neighbors around the region and talking with everybody else and trying to deal with this internally. I mean, that was kind of what I felt, that a law can't necessarily erase decades of segregation and economic disparity. And I think it's still true to this day. So
I agree with him to a certain point. As I have been reflecting and dealing with many of my constituents who have been very open, some of which have been very open about the situation, there are others that are silent. Absolutely silent, where they've not been silent ever before. But there are some unequal pieces of our statute that we need to correct, such as deadly force. The way that deadly force is written right now in our laws is very broad. And so we can bring justice and equality with the way that we write some statutes. I also think that it would be beneficial for us to have an independent prosecuting attorney when there is a situation of an unarmed person who is killed by a police officer. That is going to bring more equality to a situation. I also think that we need to deal with grand juries. These grand juries are becoming a trial jury. There's a distinction between what a grand jury is authorized to do versus what a trial jury does. And in the situation that we had, the grand jury went above and beyond what they needed to do.
A lot of people would have liked to have seen that all play out in the public eye.
There's a lower threshold.
Just, and I don't want to hog because other people want to chime in here, but real quickly, Jason makes a good point, though. At the end of the day, we are a community. And so I think it would be a miscalculation to think that somebody else is going to solve these issues for us. At the end, what it really boils down to, I think, is how we deal with one another. the conversations that we have, the friendships, the relationships that you forge. And even though you may not agree on everything, my wife and I don't agree on everything, but you find the things that you can agree on and you try to work to make those things happen. And that's an everyday kind of interaction thing.
Rasheen, do the protests need to continue? I've seen people say on Twitter, wait till it gets warm.
It's going to continue, and it needs.
The protests are not over.
They're not over. They're not going to go anywhere. I think for the last 150 something days, the young people have continued to take the street to make people feel uncomfortable, to raise the awareness again that a certain group of individuals are not treated as equal as other individuals, and that's not right. You shouldn't have to live in your community and not be treated just like a human being, just to be treated equally. And we understand in the movement, in the protests, that we need legislation. It happened in the Martin Luther King and civil rights time. Legislation is necessary. And the young people want to make a move on legislation, but to kind of go back even to the Ferguson Youth Summit, the issue is that the young people don't know how. Constantly, young people continue to get up and say, we need help, we don't know where to go, we want this to happen in our community, but how do we do it? The movement wants to take a step and do legislation and stand on some of the issues, because we know that if Michael Brown was walking down the street, if we had a stronger deadly force statute, maybe that it wouldn't have been, the issue wouldn't have played out the way it did. But since we don't know about how to go and do it, we need to be educated as well. We need to educate ourselves. And the young people want to be educated, but we also need someone to come to us. It's not always that the young people must come to the people who know the knowledge, because we're nervous. We feel like that we may know how to do it, so we need people to come to us and give us the knowledge and the resources and say, this is the best way to go about it, or maybe this is how you do it, and mentor us and nurture us.
There are people who might consider themselves, or probably do consider themselves, sympathetic to a lot of what we're talking about and do not want to see another protest in the mall.
They may not want to see another protest in the mall. I understand that. But we have to give young people an opportunity to express themselves. During the 60s, no one wanted to see hippies out there doing what they were doing. But you had an opportunity to do that. You matured, you grew up, you were able to influence the community so that it would grow into the community that you would live in. And so we have to hear what they're saying, trust their voices, and respect them as valuable members of our community, because we have to create the space where they will live, lead, and thrive. It's important. Justice lives in the heart of the citizenry, and that's us. So I was inspired Saturday that you could have 150 14 to 24-year-olds come and spend their day with the commission, engaged in this work diligently, committed all day. It was wonderful. They're ready.
I promised I wouldn't forget you. We have 20 seconds.
Okay, one word, vote. I think that regardless of what side you're on, I think one of the things that the young people need to understand is that the way to make change, I mean, one of the reasons the Ferguson Council was not representing the community, people didn't vote.